Hi, I'm Zhen Yu. I am a social media committee member of Organizational Behavioral Division, Academy of Management. Today, I'm going to interview Madeline Ong, who is a PhD student in Ross Business School, University of Michigan. She is the winner of Best Symposium Award, Academy of Management OB Division for 2015. So let me first say congratulations to Maddie. This is really an awesome accomplishment.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So Maddie, could you please briefly introduce your symposium in terms of this research finding and your research contributions?
Right. So before I start introducing my symposium, I just wanted to give a big shout out to Tyler Okimoto, who is actually a co-chair of this symposium. This symposium was really a joint effort between the two of us, so he deserves a lot of the credit for this award as well. And I also want to acknowledge Linda Trevino, who was a fantastic discussant for this symposium. So a lot of her knowledge and expertise on ethics and morality in organizations really, were invaluable contribution to this symposium. The symposium that we worked on brings together the latest research on offenders' experiences in the aftermath of their wrongdoing, with a specific focus on their morality, reform, and reintegration. So the research that you'll see in the symposium suggests that for offenders, instead of repeating their offenders or engaging in even more serious offenses, some of them actually do feel remorse and respond to their transgression in a positive and constructive way. So for example, after committing some kind of wrongdoing, they might attempt to restore morality by apologizing to the people around them. They might be motivated to change their ways, to seek reintegration with others in the community, and also to maybe even give advice to other people who might benefit from their wisdom. And in this symposium, there are 4 papers in total that use a variety of methodologies, some qualitative methods, some surveys, and some experiments. And now I'll just briefly summarize each of the 4 papers that are in this symposium. So the first paper is by Ramona Bobosel and Frank Mu. And this is a qualitative studies of employee offenders who have apologized for some kind of transgression that they committed in the workplace. So they asked respondents to think about a time that they apologized for something and give the different reasons why they might have apologized. And then what the authors did was they did a content analysis on these reasons for apology and then developed a taxonomy of apology motives. So for example, some offenders might be more promotion focused, so they are apologizing in order to restore a relationship with someone, or some might be more prevention focused and might be apologizing because of a fear of sanctions or some kind of punishment from the organization. And so this paper suggests that offenders have different kind of motives for apologizing, and there might be different outcomes for these different motives. So that's the first paper. The second paper in the symposium is actually a paper that's a part of my dissertation. And so this is the one that I'm most familiar with. And in this paper, I explore the different factors that might influence individuals' motivation to reform, or basically their motivation to stop engaging in unethical behavior and change their behavioral patterns in the aftermath of wrongdoing. So drawing from implicit person theories, I find that people who believe that moral character is something that's unchangeable are less likely to be motivated to change than some people who believe that moral character is actually something that can be changed over time. And furthermore, my results suggest that for people who do have these fixed implicit person theories, these theories can be overcome through self-reflection. So by spending more time and energy reflecting on the wrongdoing and cognitive processing of the wrongdoing, people can actually enhance their motivation to reform. So that's my paper. And on to the third paper. This paper is by Georgina Bozell and Tyler Okimoto and some of their colleagues. So they basically look at how offenders communicate about their transgressions and how these communications affects their managers' willingness to hire them and reintegrate them into the workforce. And so results from an experimental study show that when offenders provide a narrative about their wrongdoing, that can have a positive impact on a manager's willingness to reintegrate them back into the workforce, because these narratives help the managers in their perspective taking and emotional empathy. And finally, the fourth paper in the symposium is by Dan Efron and Dale Miller, and this paper is actually now already published at OBHDP. Yeah, so in this paper, they examine if there's a way for past offenders to offer advice to the people around them without incurring other people's wrath. So in several experimental studies, they find that it's more legitimate for someone to advise others against a misdeed when he himself has actually suffered for that misdeed. And so one interesting finding they do find is that advisors, people who give advice often feel more comfortable giving that advice when they themselves has paid a price for the misdeed than when they have not. And so I think that in summary is all the four papers, and in as a whole they suggest that there are ways and conditions under which offenders do display a more positive and constructive approach in terms of responding to their wrongdoing.
Yeah, the topic itself for this symposium is morality is a very interesting topic, and the four papers based on your introduction are really interesting to know about this, how people react or respond to the morality issue in the organization. So for now, could you please introduce your practical implications for this symposium?
Mm-hmm. So in terms of the practical implications, I think there are at two levels. At one level, there are practical implications for offenders, that is people who have made some kind of wrongdoing. How can they constructively respond to that wrongdoing? And on the second level, I have some practical implications for broader society, but I'll start with the first. So I think across the different papers, what the research suggests is that there are ways that offenders can adaptively and constructively facilitate their own reform and reintegration. So for example, my paper suggests that offenders should be aware of their implicit person theories and how those theories about whether moral character can or cannot change might influence their own behavior. And my paper also suggests that if offenders spend more time processing and thinking about their wrongdoing, they can actually overcome some of the limitations of their fixed mindset. The paper about offender narratives by Tyler Okimoto suggests that when offenders have committed a wrongdoing, that instead of keeping quiet about that wrongdoing, they should actually develop a narrative about their wrongdoing, and talking and communicating about their wrongdoing actually can build empathy with others around them and allow others to be more accepting of them. And the final paper on advice giving suggests that offenders, when they want to give advice about, to the people around them, they might strategically highlight how they have suffered, from their misdeed in order to share advice with other people without making other people upset. And so apart from that, in terms of the practical implications for broader society, I think in many countries around the world, offender recidivism is a huge problem. So what this means is that a lot of offenders who have been to prison for their wrongdoing actually end up repeating their offenses, going back to prison. And this is, this includes blue-collar criminals and white-collar criminals. So this issue of repeated offenses is a real big problem. And so I think some of the insights from this paper maybe could, speak to that issue to help with the social reintegration of offenders into the workplace and the broader community.
Yes, it sounds very meaningful toward how integrate people together, how to enhance this, the cohesion of the organization. That's really a fantastic study. So thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. I think you have made a really, really great symposium for last academy. So thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
So best wishes to your future research and your future study.
Thank you very much.
So see you.
See you.